gaming industry is one of the big factors of, what got us into Metaverse. So Metaverse is an intersection of gaming industry, crypto, and XR.
Hi, NewForum community. We're super excited to bring you a brilliant guest on our podcast today.
We are super happy to introduce you to Nico Fara. She's the founder of the Fashion DAO and Chief Metaverse Officer, and we can't wait to dive deep into the conversation about the Metaverse, gaps within the industries, and rooms for improvement, as well as Chief Metaverse and the future of Web3 and its impact at large.
And as always, we're powered by NewCoin Foundation, focused on fostering the expansion of decentralized social applications, also known as Social 3.0, by forming an ecosystem and a community of visionaries, creators, and investors to spark conversations on the topics of crypto, the metaverse, NFT, and everything Web3.
Hey, Nico, we're super happy to have you on.
Hi, Joy and Salimi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to dive in.
Yes, let's go. So, Nico, could you tell us your background and what got you so attracted to the Metaverse?
Sounds good. So my background is actually in engineering. I studied engineering and started working in those spaces a few years. And so that gave me a different perspective towards problem solving. And so I looked at different industries very critically. And one of the industries that I was always very passionate about was the fashion industry. And so when I started my own businesses, I focused on using this technology background and connections that I had into creating better processes and solutions to a lot of challenges we experience in the fashion industry. So we see a lot of problems around sustainability and returns. So that was kind of like my initial focusing on creating virtual try-on software, size recommendation, style recommendation, and kind of using this to enhance the customer experience. And that was mostly like Web 1, we call it, it's like the internet e-commerce platforms. And then as we were working with these retailers and brands, we realized that with the pandemic, they are getting interested into creating more virtual stores or using more digital fashion technologies, just because they can have a bigger reach to a bigger audience and just be more efficient overall with everything. So that was the beginning of us getting into the Web3 space, looking into how we can use the latest technology to again enhance the customer experience. So enhancing customer experience in so many ways, anywhere from just making these environments or virtual stores more accessible, so you can have access 24/7 and globally. And then also like empowering designers and brands using blockchain technologies, giving them option for NFTs, use those NFTs as a loyalty factor, which is usually challenging when we talk about loyalty in luxury. They don't want to give discounts or free products, so NFT really helps with that. There's so many ways that this technology seems to be a great solution for a lot of challenges in this industry. And that was kind of our motivation to fill in the gaps and just make sure that these solutions are tailored for this specific industry. And then we expanded it into the other sectors of retail. And yeah, that's how we got it started. And we focused on the metaverse. More specifically, we realized a lot of metaverse environments are gimmicky, blocky. They're not up to the expectations of these fashion brands or luxury brands more specifically. And even the consumers, they wouldn't necessarily enjoy those blocky environments. And then the other part was about accessibility. How can we make sure we have mass adoption or we have more audience? It only comes from creating experiences and environment and visuals that are more aligned with their taste. And so we brought a different perspective of bringing a lot more women and minority designers and creators and giving them the tools to create this type of experiences from a very different lens.
Wow, it's been a journey and you have definitely achieved a lot. So hard work paid off, I guess I could put it that way. So speaking about like the metaverse, your background, is this something you created?
Yeah, it is fully from scratch. We created this environment and it's going to be like a metaverse fashion show. So people can come in with their avatars that are customized. You can dress your avatar however you want, do makeup, hair, everything, and then walk around as you would like in a real fashion show. And even better because there are not those limitations. It's globally accessible. It could be, you know, at any point, any time. And while you're in this environment, you can walk in. Each of those gazebos can showcase each designer or brand items. And while you're in this environment, similar to a physical experience, you will be able to get 360 around the product, get close and see the information, and even purchase it as an NFT right there and then. And if you see at the end, we have like a runway area too. That's where we will have like right behind me here. So we will have catwalk of these different models showcasing the items. In the corner, we will have a DJ. So like, it's gonna be even better than real.
This looks like a video game almost. Like, I'm wondering how long does it take to do something like this? Like, if I want to set up my own, you know, metaverse, like how does it work?
So in terms of the video game or not, so gaming industry is one of the big factors of, you know, what got us into metaverse. So metaverse is an intersection of gaming industry, crypto, and XR. And so we are using game engines as a tool to create these environments, and the progress that they have made over the years has been really helpful. So now in regards to like what it takes, honestly, it really depends on the scope. So we always, like when we have clients, we always ask for a very detailed scope clarification. We ask very specific questions because there is no limitation in this world. So you can literally create anything that you can imagine. Your imagination is the only limitation. So for that reason, it's even more important to be well defined with the scope. And and then the other part is like how much details you want, like what type of assets you want to use. Do you want to build everything from scratch? Do you want to use some of the existing things that you have? So like there's so many like elements that go into like what the budget or time or resources required are. So that's just like a very custom, personalized conversation. And then we are also working towards making this more scalable and accessible in a way that's similar to like you would create a website on Shopify or Wix. Soon you will be able to like use our system to create your own metaverse environment and you know make it based on a template, and then you can add some personalized elements to it. And if you still want something even more customized, you can get in touch with us. So that's kind of like more our longer term plan to make sure this is more accessible.
Wow, I feel like this has so much potential. Like even thinking about this now, fashion brands using this for a catwalk, they might even make a game, you know, in the long term, something like this. So I think this really has opened my mind a bit more to the metaverse possibilities.
Yeah, one more thing is about these game engines is like you can have a lot of items or elements of gamification. So gamification is a little bit different from gaming. It's not like pure entertainment purpose. It's more like using these functions and tools to gamify the experience as we would maybe in marketing and storytelling for brands. So a lot of these technologies can be used as a great tool to help marketers and brands to connect with their audience.
Could you tell us about Chief Metaverse Officer? Because I checked your website and you're building some pretty cool stuff. So I feel like it's really connected. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is basically the main focus that we have is giving brands, retailers, and businesses an option to step into the metaverse very seamlessly and bring their audience. So in Web 1.0 or the internet that we know of, every successful business or brand had a website. And then Web 2.0, social media that we know of, every good brand or business has a social media presence. So it's a natural evolution of that in Web 3.0, we will have connecting people, places, and things using the metaverse presence. And so some people imagine that going to Decentraland is the only option, but I would say no, because same as like you would sell some items on Amazon, but you can still have your own website and bring your audience and have more control over their experience into your own website or social media. You would need something similar in the metaverse. So that's what we create, kind of like white label, custom designed and creation of metaverse environments that businesses and brands can basically put on their website and engage with their audience. And then they will have a lot more control over their data, over the customer experience. They can learn and iterate from it. There's so much more than just going to someone else's metaverse.
I know that one of your drives, your inspirations was this idea of sustainability while you were in the fashion industry. So if somebody's trying to sort of find this, tie this connection between the metaverse, sustainability, and all of that, like, what would you, like, how could you kind of explain that? What's the purpose of all this? If I care about sustainability, how does it help the environment? How does it help me as a designer?
Yeah, so more specifically to the fashion industry, and then we can expand that to others. So sustainability of creating digital fashion or digital garment, that itself creates a 97% less emission than physical items. So that of its own is a huge improvement that we can have. And as you have seen, a lot of us don't necessarily shop garments for the functions that they have, like keeping us warm or all of those things. Like those functions are not usually the main reason or drive behind our decisions when we're shopping. It's more about how they make us feel, and so how we express ourselves, what is the identity that we are trying to convey. And all of those can be expressed even better with digital fashion. Because you literally don't have any limitation. You can wear fire, you can wear waterfall, you can be anything. So this versatility is so powerful. And then you also have so many other aspects, like you can be gender inclusive, you can be body inclusive, like you can be all of those things. Sustainability is one of many benefits of using digital fashion. And so you can think of that as same as also for any other industry. If the purpose is not necessarily that function, you can add those elements of digital and save a lot of cost. So even like with the production of a garment, a lot of times there's a lot of sampling. And the samples usually are done in physical world, and it's a lot of waste and goes to landfills and all those things, or the returns. But when we're talking about bringing people to the metaverse, showing them how they can express themselves without those harmful consequences, then we are empowering a lot of more creations and also overall like people to be freely expressing themselves. And so many of these different, communities, LGBT communities or minorities find safety and, great environments that they could actually be themselves without any limitations. So yeah, I mean, it's beyond like just one factor. There's so many reasons. And just looking at metaverse, not something that will come in the future, looking at it as just an enhanced version of what we already are doing. Like we're on Zoom, how can we make this feel more real? What if we were more like avatars that we could feel each other's presence? and see each other's body language better. Or, like soon we are gonna have those suits that already exist, but it becomes more democratized that we can even feel the warmth of each other's hands or give each other a hug. And, all of those are just so exciting that I don't see like any reason why someone doesn't want to get into the metaverse.
Right. I think you explained it really well. And I'm always right now with sustainability, I'm wondering, you always see the finished garment, but you don't see the process behind it. You don't see all of the steps and all of the workers and people shipping and cost and energy that is put into like one garment, and then for users or for people who buy clothes, it's just so easy. You buy clothes, you return, whatever, this brand I don't like, I get another one. So I feel like digital fashion actually just, like you said, is an extension of ourselves. We can be ourselves and we can still dress up or express ourselves no matter where we are in the world, and we don't have to consume as much, or we have to actually think about, okay, what are we actually valuing, and I'm curious to know your opinion about brands like stepping into this idea of the metaverse and about the idea of phygital.
Absolutely. So we have seen a lot of actions in this space, and it's basically a digital transformation of the fashion industry. More specifically, we have seen it across retail in general, but more specifically with fashion, because as we step into this more immersive digital worlds, we have this crave of expressing ourselves. So it's just natural that fashion is a tool to do that, because our avatars are not as great looking like us or expressing us. So then we need to have these other elements, and fashion and beauty are those. And so in regards to like what they're doing, because a lot of these brands were kind of late to the movement of social media, Web 2.0, now they are understanding that they have to jump in. Because otherwise it becomes too late, they're going to miss the train, and it becomes challenging. And then the other thing they're noticing is that the younger generation, right, they have been already spending a lot of time, or they are spending a lot of time in the metaverse or these gaming experiences. So if any of these executives talk to their kids, they're going to see that this is the future that we are working towards, because this generation is going to take over and they're going to be doing more of that. And those kids, when they grow up, or even now, they expect the brands that are offering them solutions to be in where they are spending their times. So us, maybe millennials, we were a lot of times on social media. So we demanded brands to be present in social media for us. And that's where the shopping in Instagram and all those things came in. Similarly, we're talking about Gen Z and other generations. They are spending a lot of time on Roblox and so many of these other game environments. So they expect brands to be there. And that's kind of like we see the reason that a lot of these bigger brands that don't necessarily, or were not necessarily targeting this generation, now they're going there. So Ralph Lauren and so many of other brands, we were not expecting them to target Gen Z or go to gaming, but they're doing it because they want to broaden their audience. And so the other aspect they're doing is experimenting a lot. Because it's a new concept and new environments for them, they want to kind of experiment and see like, how is it in the central land? What is the ROI here or there, and so on, and kind of learn from all of this. So that's mostly what's happening. Kind of a gap that I see is having more of a long-term vision rather than short term. And that's where, we come in as providing some consultancy and strategy solution, because we can tell them different ways that they could have more of a long-term presence, or at least engaging with the community better. Because a lot of times right now, the immediate focus of these bigger brands and businesses is to use this as a marketing tool, which comes, very natural. We just talked about how These tools help with storytelling, so that's given that it helps with marketing. But there's so much more, right? There's so much more that we're talking about, like with sustainability, with democratization and accessibility and so on. So those are the areas that we still need to work on, and the brands and retailers need more attention on those areas. And it helps when they are looking to bring more audience from the Web 1, Web 2 world, because rather than just telling them, hey, we are in a new gaming space, come check us out, you can actually educate them behind the whys, like we just talked about, sustainability, traceability, all those things that this demographic have been demanding for many, many years. Now this is the solution. And that would be basically very helpful to bring in this audience. And that requires more education and more focus, which hopefully we will see more of as we go.
I think you're so right. And they're kind of like, you know, Gen Z is really like forward thinking, and they are asking a lot of questions. And like you said, they are on Roblox and all these new like environments, and brands really are like, oh, what's happening? Like, you know, what is, like, they see this change, and now they're like, okay, how can we also be part of the conversation and not fall behind, kind of. And I think that's really important. I feel like it's always funny to see who can really translate that well, or who can, you know, it's mostly the people who are native to the internet and new people from all over the world who are really embracing the technology. And I think they're going to become more valuable to the brands and for brand building. So I think things like that you're building are super valuable to these brands, because they already have somebody who's native with it. You know, it's like you already speak the language of Web3. You already know how it looks like, how digital fashion can look like. So I think there's going to be a merge maybe between these two. Yeah, we already see it.
Yeah, I think I always recommend a lot of these brands and retailers to get directly in touch with their community. And community does not mean influence, like those influencers followings or any followings. It's a lot more than that. Likes do not mean you have a community. If you have a lot of likes, that means a lot of other things. Maybe you did good at ads, but the real community that we are creating in Web3, it's so powerful. It will help the business to get to the next level. And it becomes an extension of the employees in this company. And they will be actually caring more, maybe in some cases, because they are the consumers and now turned users of this solution. And they can provide feedback, they can provide guidance and the direction of the brand. They can even get their hands dirty and help, you know, put their sleeves up, create some of these, you know, ideas that they bring in. And we already see that in NFT projects that engage the community a lot. Sometimes people go above and beyond your expectation. And it's just a matter of giving them the right tools and the space and the warmth that you will give, that will bring and activate all of these amazing ideas. I experienced that in our fashion DAO that we created. We basically were not expecting the community to be so empowering, so supportive and all of that, but it just was a pleasant surprise. That, you know, even folks that don't necessarily come from a very specific fashion backgrounds or, you know, knowledge or experience, they have been so willing and so excited to learn and contribute. And this is the power of community. And I think every brand should tap into it.
What are some of the gaps when it comes to like diversity, inclusivity, and like accessibility? And are there like, is there any room for improvement? Because this is what Web3 promises to give creators all over the world, or, you know, artists, designers all over the world. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, of course. So there are two ways we can look at it. One is the tools and basically like what we have to bring more inclusivity or showcase that. So that side we can talk about the avatars, for example. There's still so much room for improvement on creating more inclusive avatars. whether it's gender inclusive or body inclusive. It's a work in progress. And again, it goes back into making sure those who are creating these are the ones that actually need help, rather than, the previous demographic that used to create what they want to create, still deciding how it should be created for the minorities. So that's one direction. And then the other parts about overall how we can make this industry more inclusive. I think it goes back to the power of blockchain and these technologies into enabling, and also even digital fashion. All of these technologies are so democratizing the power, culture, economy, and tech. And so it really is now up to the creator how far they want to go with these technologies that we have, and use them as so empowering tools. Because previously, designers needed to be part of a brand, or they needed to find fabric or factories and this and that. So that was kind of limiting, and it was a high barrier to entry. And now we are seeing that that's not the case anymore. You can literally work off of a software and bring your ideas to life and do all of those amazing things that you want to do, and then quickly post it in so many of these platforms and get feedback. You can also contact your community and get their feedback even before you create everything, or offer them different ideas. And so there's so many ways that we can use these technologies, and it's so empowering, and all it requires is to provide that education and onboarding and that safe feeling for these designers and creators to step into this and give this a try. Because if they do, they're not going to look back, and they're going to be loving it. They're going to be inviting their friends and communities, and I don't think there's a way going back. But there's also a lot we can do with bridging what we had in the past to what we are having in the future. So we talk about phygital a lot, and that's basically if you have a physical garment or item that you had previously created, how can we tie that to NFTs? How can we tie that to blockchain and digital products? And so that's very empowering too. You can use QR codes, you can use NFC or RFID chips, and then you can have a lot more use cases that you didn't have even before. You can monetize it more. You can track your audience and provide better services appropriate to their needs. There's a whole category of opportunities that we wouldn't even think about when we think of NFTs. So the opportunities are really endless, and it's on us, the early ones, that we take this and bring it to others and educate them, like you guys are doing here.
Exactly. And I feel like we learned so much in this episode. I feel like this was really elevated the community again on the metaverse and fashion and where we are at now, and that it's not too late, and that the value of the community is so important, and how people get into the space, and that we really keep these Web3 values alive while building the long-term vision of things. And thank you so much, Nico, for joining. I think this was so insightful. And where can our audience find you on your social platforms and also follow your project?
Sounds good. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. It was an honor. I am at Nico Fara _ on Twitter, and Nico Fara on LinkedIn. Again, Nico Fara _ on Instagram. And my businesses are Chief Metaverse Officer. That's website is chiefmetaverse.co. I'm a founder of the Fashion DAO, which is a community of fashion enthusiasts and experts that are using Web3 technology to enhance the fashion industry. That website is thefashiondao.xyz. You can also follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Amazing, Nico. Thank you so much. This was really great, and thank you for sharing your insights and your experiences. And thank you all for being a part of NewForum. If you want to get more involved in our community, make sure to follow us on our social platforms. We will put all the links in the description below, as well as Miko's links as well. Thank you, and we will see you in the next episode.